What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I got another debate video coming in, and one of the guests actually eats liver in place of crow because he said Kamala Harris was going to win by a landslide, and you know what? That didn't happen. That, never was going to happen. Kamala Harris was never a good candidate. She couldn't explain anything. She had circuitous garbage. That's all she spoke of, was just talking in circles about ambitions and dreams and hopes of Americans, and all they hoped for with all their ambitions is they dreamed and hoped that she would just shut up and give us some policy prescriptions, give us some policy positions, give us something, and they couldn't give anything. And the American voters spoke with their feet. They went and voted for Donald Trump, and Donald Trump won by, technically it wasn't a landslide, but I would say it was a landslide because of the massive shift in support for Donald Trump from 2020. I mean, it was just amazing to watch almost the entire country shift toward Donald Trump, because they're not really shifting to the right. They're shifting back to the center, because the left, once again, has pulled us so far to the left, which is simply a result of all of these far leftists. If you're not with them, if you don't agree with them 100%, you're a far right extremist. But let's get into the debate, y'all.
With you, Wajahat, because last time I spoke to you, you said, quotes, that you would eat crow on this show if you were proven spectacularly wrong with the results of the election. And let's just remind you of what you said.
This is why Republicans are painted in a corner, right? I feel bad for them. The people have come out and defend Trump. There's two things they can't defend. January 6th, Roe v. Wade. Those are two galvanizing factors, which is why I believe Kamala Harris, I'm going to say it in front of the camera, is going to win tomorrow. And if I'm wrong, he's buying me halal crow, which I will eat on your side.
Yes, I am. I hope you brought some with you, Jahan.
Well, first and foremost, thank you so much for referring to all of us as your luminaries. That makes me feel really good. And I'm a man of my word, Piers Morgan. This is not halal crow, but it's halal liver. So I will eat halal liver on your show for you. I was wrong, and I'm eating halal liver. And at the very least, I hope you can say, you know, Wajahat and I disagree, but he's a man of his word. Hopefully he's consistent in his principles. So that's halal liver. It's not that good. I hope your fans are happy. And at the very least, I hope you can stand by my word. That's halal liver, not crow, but liver. Hopefully I don't choke live on air. In response, the foreign policy, listen, Donald Trump says a lot.
Well, hang on. I'm not asking you about that yet. I actually just want to ask you one thing.
You want me just to eat the crow? All right.
No, you can finish your liver, but I can't think of liver without thinking of Hannibal Lecter, actually, but we'll keep off that. Just to be clear, you weren't just wrong. I mean, every reason you gave for why Kamala was obviously going to win turned out to be non-existent. Women didn't rush to vote for her because of abortion. There was no great rush to vote as a protest to January the 6th. Trump broke records for himself with almost every demographic possible. And he won everything. The White House, the Senate, the House. He's going to get more judges on the Supreme Court. He won everything. How did you, Wajahat, and I say this with great respect, but how did you call this so badly? Why did you possibly think, because I kept trying to tell you, Kamala Harris is a terrible candidate and Trump's going to win. Why were you so wrong?
So the reason why I was so wrong, I was wrong twice, 2016, 2024. I thought it would swing 1.5 points her way. When we were talking on your show, if you remember, you asked us, well, how could be some reasons how he wins? And you said, and just for the sake of entertaining, and I said, yeah, maybe the men come out for him, men of color, and he gets enough people in the swing states. When all is said and done, Piers, as the data is being collected, as we know, he will get less than 50%. He will beat her by 2 points. For perspective, in 2020, Biden beat Trump by 4.4 points. It's not an overwhelming mandate.
He won the popular vote, Wajahat. Come on.
Yeah. Well, wait, but less than 50%, number one. He's going to beat her by maybe 2 points, number two. There's a fascinating trend around the world. In the past 140 years, this has never happened. Nearly every single incumbent party around the world has lost. Fascinating, number one. Number two, if you look at the polls, it's fascinating. Most people, when blindly presented with Kamala Harris's policies, including Trump voters, supported it. Most people who had incorrect facts about economy, inflation, immigration, crime, went to Trump. Most people who had correct facts went to Kamala Harris. So I think there's a lot of things that factor here. Number one, I do think even if Biden would have run, I think he would have been even worse. Looking at the internal polling, there's a fascinating phenomenon right now that's happening in 2024. Nearly every incumbent party has lost around the world. Number two, the racism and misogyny, I think, is caked in, which is why Trump attacked her. A lot of people, I thought, Piers, listen, I thought enough people in 2024 would be okay voting for a black woman. I was wrong. Number three, right-wing disinformation really worked on $140 million.
So to be clear, it was about, just to be clear, Wijaya, hang on, just to be clear. So far, you categorized the reasons that people voted for Trump and not your woman, Kamala Harris, was racism, sexism, right-wing disinformation, and because they were basically too stupid.
No, I didn't say that. The number one.
Well, they didn't believe facts, as you put it, so they voted. They voted on the wrong facts. I mean, I'm not being funny with Jahid, but it does seem to me you
look
are
at the number one factor. Can you just add the number one factor?
If you don't mind me saying, you are sounding quite ludicrously deluded.
Piers Morgan just hits the nail right on the freaking head with a hammer and smashes that thing right on in, because he's totally correct. Everybody on the left, all these pundits are coming out and saying, you know, oh, it's right-wing disinformation. They had the wrong facts, y'all. They had the wrong facts. Elon Musk bought Twitter and turned it into X, and now it's a right-wing disinformation machine, y'all. Hang on, dude. Hang on. What disinformation? Like, I'm not sure what disinformation, because all the information I'm seeing, I go to fact check all this stuff and it's all correct. The only disinformation I'm seeing coming out, of course, I'm not saying only, because the right does have its disinformation, but the difference between right-wing disinformation and left-wing disinformation is left-wing disinformation is mostly lies. Right-wing disinformation is mostly exaggerations, skewing stuff in certain directions. It's just not outright lies. They outright lied about Donald Trump on a constant basis. They diluted the name fascist. They diluted the insult of calling somebody Hitler. People don't care anymore. Go ahead, call him Hitler. And how about this for irony, right? Now they're just seething and coping with the fact that we just nominated Hitler to be our next president. Yes, as a matter of fact, and nobody cares. Nobody seems to care at all, right? Because they've diluted that insult so much that we're turning it into something totally different. It's no longer an insult in the eyes of these people anymore. It's just lovely to watch all this right-wing disinformation. You gotta love it. They're too stupid. They don't believe the right facts. You gotta love that. Hang on, what are right facts? It's not, you know, if something is a lie, that can't be considered a wrong fact. That's just an outright lie. And this is the only thing they can come up with. Oh, hang on. Did we forget that we're all racists now because we didn't vote for the Indian black woman? Yeah, we could have easily predicted that that's what they would say, because that is an easy copium prescription, if you will. Oh, well, she was a black woman and they didn't vote, so we're racist. Now they believe that the vast majority of Americans are racist because we didn't vote for the most unpopular candidate that Democrats have ever put up. The most unpopular. I mean, her favorability rating was lower than Joe Biden's was. Why would you put this person in place? It makes absolutely no sense. There is a litany of candidates that could have done way better than Kamala Harris. Black women at that. Yes, a litany. Michelle Obama would have probably done way better than Kamala Harris did. Because Michelle Obama can actually speak. She can actually get out there. And if she has policy positions, she can get out there and articulate those policy positions pretty good, right? Pretty good. Kamala Harris, not so much. Not at all. But let's keep going.
Discuss some of this. Mujahid, some of the appointments that have been made early by Donald Trump in terms of nominees, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, the Fox host, Ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee. The Secretary of State is apparently going to be Marco Rubio, the UN Ambassador Elise Stefanik. What do you make of these appointments, or the people that Trump wants to be appointed? Do you think they're all going to get through? And what would the ramifications be of having these particular people running these departments, do you think?
Well, if Trump wants them, they'll get through. Trump is the leader of the party. And very quickly, we have a difference of opinions on the following. I think a convicted criminal who was held liable for assaulting a woman and defamation and incite of violent insurrection to this day is the only president who refuses to admit that he lost. I think he's dangerous. I think that's a problem. Maybe my panelist doesn't, but I do. But I think facts matter. Donald Trump, when he ran, right, the first time, he said, I'm going to be pacifist. I'm not going to be interventionist. Well, who did he appoint in his cabinet the first time? Remember Pompeo, Gina Haspel, John Bolton, all these people were war hawks. And people forget when Donald Trump came in, right, he promised, I'm not going to intervene. I'm not going to be aggressive. People forget drone strikes increased by 432%. People forget he kept us in Iraq and Afghanistan. People forget he ripped up the Iran deal. People forget he bombed Syria twice. People forget that he let Israel illegally annex the Golan Heights and move the embassy. He ripped up the Iran agreement. He killed Soleimani, right? He funded Saudi Arabia to continue genocide in Yemen. None of this is peaceful, right? This is all hawkish. Now you look at the appointments that you just mentioned. You see people like Secretary of Defense, right? The rest of the folks we can get to. But Secretary of Defense, this is putting lipstick on a pig, right? A Fox host who, by the way, bragged about not washing his hands for 10 years, says he doesn't want women in combat, almost killed someone with an axe on Fox News, Pete Hegseth. But in all seriousness, he's a Fox host who's not qualified at all. I think this one is going to be deeply problematic. The other ones we can quibble about.
He's a veteran with 2 Bronze Stars.
But wait.
Who
Let me finish.
I
I did not interrupt anyone.
Okay,
Pete Hegseth, in his book, right? Read his book. In his book, he himself said he was too extreme for the military. He is an Iraq veteran. He is hawkish. He wants a civil war. He wants to embolden some of these right-wing paramilitary movements. He wants Democrats and anyone who's a leftist to be attacked as the enemy. He is not qualified compared to Lloyd Austin. You could disagree with Lloyd Austin, Biden's pick, 4-star general, which is why you're going to get a lot of folks, even Republicans on the DL say, listen, this is Secretary of Defense. Donald Trump ran on strength, security, right? The Secretary of Defense is Pete Hegseth, a Fox anchor who's sure a veteran, has no experience, and these extreme policies. This was the one really big blunder.
All right.
This was the big blunder of all the picks.
And people also forget no new freaking wars. People forget the Abraham Accords. People forget peace deals all across the Middle East. People forget Vladimir Putin did not invade Ukraine. People forget Donald Trump crossing the demilitarized zone into North Korea, shaking hands with Kim Jong-un in a massive show of strength and peace. Peace through strength, as a matter of fact. That is the definition of peace through strength, because, once again, people forget, oh, little rocket man, you've got your little rockets and I've got my big rockets. Then what happens as the result of the entirety of the mainstream narrative machine saying, oh, World War III is coming. He's inciting war with North Korea. What does that result in? A handshake and peace. Oh, and then they want to say, in rebuttal to that, oh, well, he still had missile tests, intercontinental ballistic missile tests. So what? A lot of people still test missiles constantly. That's what militaries do. He didn't fire those. After that, he didn't threaten to blow up Washington, D.C., did he? No, he didn't threaten South Korea, didn't threaten anybody. And hang on, if I remember correctly, none of those threats escalated until after Donald Trump left office. And then Kim Jong-un just resumed all that. People tend to forget these things. Watch it, heck. I know I'm probably saying his name wrong, but I just love pronouncing it that way. But talking about Pete Hegseth, like, once again, ignoring the fact that he's got 20 years experience in the military, ignoring the fact that he's an America first, and they just keep saying, he's a Fox News host. So what? So what? As if none of those people ever go on TV at all, right? He's a Fox News host with 2 Bronze Stars, a combat vet, and 20 years of experience in the military. Yeah, I think it's a pretty good choice. It's better than any swamp monster that Joe Biden has put into place, like Lloyd Austin, these establishment people that just want the prestige of being the National Defense Secretary. Blah, blah, blah. You gotta love these people. Whinging, coping, and seething, rolling around in their own puke. For crying out loud, they just throwing up all over themselves and then falling on the floor and rolling around in it. That's what they're doing here. That's all they can do, because that's all they've got. They can't come to grips with the fact that we're actually putting people into places of power that actually care about the American people, that actually care about our standing on the world stage, that actually care about peace through strength, that actually don't want to start any new wars and will not start any new wars. Oh, they're flipping out because, oh, well, he's putting in people that are supporting Israel. So what? Like, who cares? They're going to quickly bring a halt to the Ukraine war, hopefully. They're going to quickly bring a halt to this conflict in Gaza. We're going to prevent World War III if we can, although I just saw a headline earlier. Now, Biden has just authorized Ukraine to use long-range missiles to strike deep into Russian territory, sabotaging any sort of peace agreements we might be able to get in this Russian-Ukrainian war, right? Just trying to sabotage all of that. And we expected this. Outright, we expected this. We knew that the Biden administration was going to do this. I've covered several articles in the past few days of Joe Biden trying to spend as much money as possible before he leaves office. It's analogous to Joe Biden walking through the White House with a jacket full of grenades, grabbing grenades, pulling the pin, and throwing them behind him as he leaves office. They're trying to spend as much money as possible to make sure we get all those appropriations out. Like, no, dude, come on. You're being ridiculous. You're intentionally damaging this country. All this wasteful spending is garbage. And it's just going to make Donald Trump's job even that much harder. It's just ridiculous what these people are doing. $1.8 trillion deficit spending. I continually talk about that because the absurdity of spending $1.8 trillion more than what you take in revenue is absurd. Like, how can anybody agree to this? And they did. Democrats and Republicans alike in Congress voted for these budgets. That's absurd, if you ask me. Now, I will say a lot of Republicans didn't vote for this, but 0 Democrats voted against it. 0. And some Republicans voted for it because it passed, as a matter of fact. That's absurd on its face, to spend that much money, and that's the damage that they are doing to our dollar. Joe Biden is projecting weakness because he is weak. He's a frail old man, and not just that, his actions the entire time he's been in the White House has projected weakness, and not just his physical weakness, just weakness in general. When asked what they would do, like, what's your message to Iran? Don't. Really? Don't? How about we will bomb the crap out of you, like Donald Trump said. We will blow you off the map. Sure, that might be incendiary rhetoric, but what does that do? What is the result of that? Iran was weak, was weakened, and was doing nothing. Hardly anything. And that is the result of peace through strength. And that is what we're going to get with people like Pete Hegseth as the National Defense Secretary. But these people, they have to come out in opposition because they're deranged and they're in a cult. They can't see reality for what it is. They can't. They refuse to acknowledge anything positive coming from Donald Trump. Everything has to be negative. And he was talking about, oh, he's a convicted felon. Yeah, on bogus charges. And we know it's bogus charges. We've gone over all that. You can't uplift a misdemeanor to a felony on some charges that he hasn't been charged with. Right? It was in furtherance of another crime. But hang on. They're not charging him with that other crime. And outside of that, it's a multiple choice that the jury didn't even have to be unanimous on. That's absurd. There's so many due process violations in that case that it's going to be thrown out on appeal. As a matter of fact, Judge Juan Merchan has come to grips with that, knowing they are under no obligation to drop these charges like Jack Smith, because they're not going to be able to go after a sitting president. The state level, they're not under any obligation to halt that case, that criminal case against Donald Trump. Right? You want to charge him with the misdemeanor of falsifying business records, I will be the first one to admit he is guilty of this. Sure, give him a fine. But elevating it to a felony is absurd. On a multiple choice, violating his due process rights is absurd. And they know this. And they're not under any obligation, like I said, to halt these proceedings at all. They can go forward with sentencing if they want to. But they're not doing that, are they? No, as a matter of fact, they're putting it on hold, which is crazy. All of these other cases against Trump are just slowly falling away by the wayside. Slowly falling away. What does that tell you? The special counsel's office does not have to drop these cases. They can hold on to these cases until after Donald Trump leaves office. But they're not doing that, are they? No, they're going ahead and conceding that they were wrong. All of this garbage was wrong. They're dropping the cases. Jack Smith is leaving the special counsel's office outright. What does that tell you? They know they were wrong and they're scared. And they're trying to cross all their T's and dot all their I's before they leave office. So he doesn't come after them, as a matter of fact, for malicious prosecution. Because he most certainly has the right to do so. And I hope he investigates these people. And if he finds any criminal wrongdoing, I hope he follows through with that and puts these people, or gives them their day in court. We'll put it that way. Let them have their day in court. Bring it to a liberal district, just to be on the safe side. That's what I would suggest. Outright. Hey, I'm all about equal protection under the law. If these people didn't do anything wrong, then hey, leave them alone. Let them live their life. But if we find any evidence of malicious prosecution, then go after all these people. You know, he said, well, he's going to lock up Hillary Clinton. You got to love that. But then he didn't do it, did he? I think he should rescind that. Maybe look into deleting classified documents from your email servers. Trying to use BleachBit to erase all the data off of all those hard drives. That's illegal. Can't do that. But I think that's all I got for this one, y'all. Hey, y'all don't forget, smash that like button for me. Subscribe to this channel. Share this video anywhere and everywhere you can. Y'all let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. That's all I got for this one. I want to thank everybody for watching. And y'all try to have a good day and stay legitical. Peace.